Good day, mate. Welcome to OCEC Podcast, Understanding Australia in an Easy Way. Today, I'm with my mates, Reynaldy and Bagus. How's life going so far, mates?
I'm good, and everything is fine. I think that life currently goes as planned.
Well, nothing special, but I still enjoy it.
Alright, so we're in the 6th semester and taking the course of Australian Studies. What is your interest in this course?
Honestly, since Aussie study is the first subject I'm taking this far relating to Australia, I did not know that much. But if you insist on my opinion, I'm interested in its general origin as well its culture. Because along the study, those two aspects seems to be intriguing, at least for me. What about you, Bagus?
There is one. The Australian cinema. It's quite taken my attention because its development as well as the history is very fascinating for me.
Australian is well known for its openness for immigrants, and that's a fact. What do you think about this, Ray?
Well, as you mentioned before, previously in the past, Australia used to be a country that is open for immigrants. They accept refugees from other countries without many requirements. But after some time, this policy is abused by some immigrants to commit bad things from the inside, such as sabotaging or terrorism. And finally, the big incident relating immigrants and refugees occurred during the arrival of MV Dhatta in around 2001. In general, the Dhatta affair incident marks the time where the Australian government decided to give some restrictions and tighten the policy regarding immigrants.
Something that makes this incident highlighted by the public is that the refugees were treated like criminals. That time, the Australian government sent its soldiers to restrain the refugees.
Okay, now what do you think about the condition of the immigrant at the moment?
It's pretty saddening because, according to the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, in its article, the last census estimated that 15% of the homeless population were immigrants who arrived in Australia in the past 5 years. That's more than 3 times the size of that group in the general population.
And do you have any idea to tackle this issue?
Well, if I were an immigrant, I would seek help from the government for a temporary shelter, at least until I can get a proper job to live with my family. But if it is impossible, I will seek help from the charity organization for a place to rest. The other option, most likely I will gather in one place with people who share the same condition.
Based on the website and some references that I have read, the government, along with the Bureau, decided to measure the data and look for a valid information regarding the immigrants. After a sufficient information is obtained, they can proceed to provide shelter for them. But usually, to make a beneficial relationship, these immigrants were asked to provide manpower for the country. I do agree with the government step for its strict requirements since it's good to maintain the national security.
To some extent, I agree with your opinions about the idea to tackle this problem, but I believe that there is another problem that the immigrants are facing. It is unemployment. Every homeless person is unemployed, but not every unemployed person is homeless. Do you agree with this premise?
Agree.
Me too.
So, we are now moving to the next problem, which is unemployment. What do you think about this problem faced by these immigrants?
Honestly, this problem is still related to the first issue. Most of the immigrants don't have enough money and proper occupation for a living. I can say that this is a long-term issue because the unemployment rate will increase indirectly if immigrants do not get the job.
Judging by the history of Australia, I honestly felt skeptical of them. I don't think Australia should be a wise choice for them to go to, since there are many better countries that are open and welcome for those unemployed immigrants. But still, there are still possible ways to solve the problem.
And do you think there is a way to overcome the situation? Is it possible to eradicate this problem?
I believe that there is a solution to this problem. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible, but I don't think that it can be solved immediately. We all know that everything needs process. It may take several years or decades to overcome. I suggest that immigrants work for the country. In exchange, I hope the government provides proper shelters for the immigrants.
As for today, just like my statement before, it is still possible for the government to provide job vacancies for those unemployed immigrants, though they are not working voluntarily or even as a slave, and in return, the government might also provide them a place to live and even food. If these immigrants change their nationality, the government is even able to provide them weekly payments of social security benefits.
Can it be extended furthermore?
I actually have this idea that we can discuss more. For example, the salary and the job occupation available. We could pay you more, and in exchange, you can give us the best of your performance.
Regarding this case of the immigrants' occupation, maybe the government can arrange a certain policy to support their well being. That way, the immigrants might feel more comfortable and less burdened.
Awesome. It sounds convincing enough for me. So I wish this relationship could occur in real life. So, dear Australian government, please hear this resolution for the better improvement of your country. Anyway, talking about job and occupation, do you think that discrimination happens in workplace?
Indeed, I ever read about job discrimination on one of the BBC News article. The main reasons why immigrants have difficulties in getting a job are because they lack relevant experience, or reference, language problems, and prejudice. This leads to job discrimination because the immigrants are being underestimated from the first place as a result. In addition, it is supported by the fact that the majority of immigrant workers do the 3D jobs, which are dirty, dangerous, and difficult.
I do agree, because looking at the character of people who work in a professional field, they are mostly white people. Some even stereotype that black people are less competent for some field of jobs.
So, I assume that we are now on the same page. First of all, in your opinion, does this discrimination only occur for immigrants? To the best of my understanding, the Federation of Ethnic Communities Council of Australia, or also known as FECA, says that new immigrants endure far higher rates of joblessness than other Australians.
Nope, as you said, even the migrants are also experiencing the same condition where they get discriminated against because of some matters. According to Mr. Caputo, a chairperson of the FECA, often people who have got names such as Mohammed or Abdul are not even getting that opportunity of being interviewed.
As for this, I think that I have the same opinion as Bagus.
Alright, last, how to overcome this discrimination that has been happening since long time ago?
In my opinion, they should start to ban those people who were being discriminative. I believe that being discriminative is also against humans' rights. Their race, beliefs, origins should have nothing to do with their competence. If they insist, at least they should have provided proper work training to minimize and anticipate performance flaws. In addition, according to the journal article written by Stephen Claiborne in 2016, he suggested that the government should amend the Fair Work Act to ensure that undocumented immigrant workers may access the same employment right as Australian citizens.
But on the other hand, the immigrants should improve their soft skills, including the language skills and communication skills. For example, they could learn how to communicate using English, so the range of the job vacancies will be wider too. Of course, a company will not hire someone with a lack of skills, right?
Okay, I agree with that. So, we have talked about the history of immigrants in Australia, which started from the Tampa Affair accident. Then, continuing the conversation to the homeless issue of the immigrants, I believe that we agree to solve the problem by conducting a good relationship between the immigrants and the government. Furthermore, this relationship can affect the obstacles in unemployment so that immigrants can have a better life. Then, discrimination, the enemy of all mankind, can be eradicated by maintaining harmony of this relationship. That's a wrap of this episode. Thank you very much for being with us, Reynaldy and Bagus. And until next time, stay tuned on Aussie Easy Podcast, understanding Australia in an easy way. Cheers, mate.
Cheers!